Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to build a form using Gravity Forms. I'll go through each of the field options that you have and how to build a good sort of contact us form. So what you want to do is navigate to the back end of your website, and under forms you just want to click on the form tab, and then you'll see the form dashboard and it'll have a list of all the forms that you have currently on your website. And what you want to do to add a new one, you just click add new, and you want to give it a form title. So for example, I'll call this one contact us. And you can give it a form description as well to kind of for back-end use only, so that you can see what the form is supposed to be about, what data is supposed to collect, things like that. And then just click create form. And here you'll see sort of a blank version of the form, and on the right hand side is is essentially the Gravity Forms builder, and it's what you'll use to add in different form fields and create the different settings for it. So the fields are separated into standard fields, advanced, post fields, and pricing fields. Standard fields are just your normal sort of line text, paragraph, any drop downs, things like that. Then you have advanced fields, so these are pre-formatted fields, things like email, a name and date field, time and reCAPTCHA and things like that. You also have post fields, so these will take dynamic data from the page that it's currently on and display it front end. And then you have sort of pricing fields, and these work well with basically if you wanted to have a product listing and have people sort of select products from there, you can. And the fields are sort of shown here. And then on the right side you'll see field settings, and this is whenever you select a certain field, it'll show you the different settings that you have. So to go through some of the fields, you have the sort of standard fields, and these are things like single line text. So this is just a single line text field for users to sort of add in a sentence or a word, depending on what the question is. Each field settings, they are split into general, appearance, advanced, and conditional logic. So under general, all of them will have a sort of option for field label and a description, and the field label being just this bold label here. And it's up to you what you want that label to be. You can also give it a description, and this is basically where you can write sort of instructions on what you want people to fill in the field and below. And this is optional if you want to have a field for description, if you want to have a description sort of just describe what the field is for, or you can leave it blank. It's up to you. You can give the text field sort of maximum characters, so if you want to have a limit on how much they can write in the field, you can. Each field that you have has a rules option, and it gives you the option if you want to have a required field or if you want to have no duplicates. So if a field is marked as required, it means that they can't submit the field, they can't submit the form if this field is blank. They have to have a value in there. And no duplicates means that it'll sort of compare what they've written in the field and compare it to the database. If there's a value that already equals that in the database, then it won't accept that and they'll have to write something different. This is good if you want to make sure that emails aren't being saved in twice. You can make a email a no duplicate field, that way the same email isn't getting stored in your database twice. In the appearance tab, so each field has a placeholder option, so placeholder being an example sort of what they can add in the field. So in the name one, I can write John, and that kind of gives people an indication of what type of things they should be adding in the field. You can they all have a field label visibility, so all of the fields have that field label visibility, and you can control if you want it hidden or if you want the field label aligned to the top. And then the description placement, it's up to you if you want to have below input as it currently is, or if you want it above the input. All the fields have that kind of control. And then you can have, each field can have a custom validation message, meaning if the field has an error and they can't submit the form, it'll show a custom message specifically for the field, so they know exactly where it's going wrong. And then for each field you can add a custom class, that way you can add more styling to a specific field if you want. And you can also control the field size. So if you click small, it'll change the width to a small. You also have the option for medium and large. So these are the field settings, and they're generally the same for all of the fields that you have. In terms of style and layout, what you can do if you wanted to have, for example, a 2-column layout, if you wanted to add another single line text here, if I click and drag that over beside the existing field. I can make another field beside it, and I automatically have a 2-column layout. I can do the same again for 3 columns, and I can just drag and drop that, and then just have another one at the bottom. So the layout of each field is good, as pretty easy to control. Another thing with field settings, so that's the general and appearance. Another thing you can do is something called conditional logic. So with conditional logic, you can control which fields can be shown depending on the value of another field. So for example, if we wanted to give users the option of us either emailing them or contacting them, we can have one field that says we can have a radio button option that says would you prefer for us to contact you via email or phone? And then you can add the 2 choices, one for email and one for phone. And then if we were to add a email field, we can control that so that it only shows if someone were to select email. So if we click on settings and then go into conditional logic and click enable conditional logic, we would choose the condition, so show this field if all of the following match. So that's the rule. And we want to click the field, so would you prefer for us to contact you via email or phone? And then you want to select the choice. So what this rule means is show this field, show the email field if the following match, and the following being would you prefer us to contact you via email or phone, and that's if that is selected as email. So now this will only show if they select email as the choice. Same thing if we were to add the phone field and click on settings, we can give that conditional logic and make sure that the same rule applies, but instead of email we choose phone. And now the same rule applies to that one. If would you prefer for us to contact you via email or phone, and phone is selected, then the phone one will show and not email. And it just helps reduce the overall questions on the page, and it improves sort of user experience so that they're not overloaded with a bunch of questions that they don't need to answer. So that's the checkbox. Another option you can have is the drop down, and this is just another way to give users options. It's the same as sort of radio buttons, except with radio buttons you can see all the choices, and with drop downs you would need to select the drop down and then select the option. So if we were to go into general, you can see all the options here. First choice, second choice, third choice. We can bulk add choices. So if we click that, you can see we have already different options for example, if we do countries, and if you wanted to add that, it'll be all bulk added for you. I would say to use, if you're trying to figure out if you want to use the radio buttons or drop downs, if you have lots of options for users to choose from, so for example countries, then I would use drop down so that the user isn't overloaded with a bunch of options. If you only have 2, maybe 3 different options for users to choose from, then it's fine to use radio buttons, because then it won't take up a lot of the pages. Another option that you have then is checkboxes, and the main difference between checkboxes and radio buttons and drop downs is that with radio buttons, radio buttons you can only choose one option. Same with drop down, you can only choose one option. But with checkboxes you can choose multiple options, so people can go in and click second and third if they want to. With the multiple options, you again have the bulk add predefined choices, and you can go through and see if any of these apply, and you can just insert those choices there. You can also enable select all as a choice, so if you have one that has if you have a drop down that, or a checkbox option that allows a select all options. You can add that as an option, and then again you can have a required field and all of that. Another thing you can do is add a section. So this adds a sort of section break and allows you to separate things into headings. If it's a particularly big form, the section break field allows you to add a content separator to your form to help organize your groups of field. It's more of a visual element rather than actual data collecting form field. And within that, you can give the field label a break. So the first one, you might have a section for the first section. And this can be called About Yourself. And if the next set of questions is about the person's company, for example, you can have that as a heading. And it kind of breaks up the form a little bit and makes it easier for your users to kind of fill it out. Another one is you can break it off into pages as well and give it a page break. So a page break allows the creation of multi-page forms. That way, instead of seeing all the questions all in one page, what it'll do is show the first page and it'll just be a bunch of questions. Then they can click next and it'll show the next set of questions, and then they click next and it'll be a next set of questions. So this is good for if you have a really big form that's collecting a lot of information. Instead of showing all of the information and data all at once, it'll add the forms on different pages, and it makes it less overwhelming for the users. So adding a page field, it will automatically add 3 new markers to your form. So start paging at the top of your form, a page break marker, and this is where we dragged the form to, and then you have end of the paging, and that's at the bottom of the form. The start paging will always appear at the top of your form, and it's used to specify our general options that define the behavior of your multi-page form. So if we go into the start page, you can have a progress indicator. So this is how people know how far it's a visual sort of progress indicator that you can display if you want to. So you can have it in terms of a bar, you can have it in steps, or you can just have none. And then with the style, it just gives you color options. You can also choose custom and give it a sort of custom text color and background color, and you can give different page names as well. So it's up to you how you want to sort of separate your fields out. For a simple contact form, if you're just collecting their name, email address, phone number, and a little paragraph, then the multi-form step wouldn't be needed. It's just for bigger forms where you're collecting lots of information. Another useful form field you can do is the file upload. And with the file upload, you can ask users to upload their own files. For example, if this is a form for a job application and you want users to upload their CV, you would choose a file upload, and within that you can put restrictions on what kind of files to upload. So for example, allowed file extensions, you can say only say docx, or you can just have PDFs, and that way people can't upload any images or any video files or anything like that. They can only upload files with these extensions. You can enable multi-file upload, so if you know there's going to be multiple files, you can enable that, or if you switch that off, they can only upload one file. You can give it a maximum file size, just to have more control over how big the files are, you can give it a file size as well. So this field is good for if you want people to upload a CV or like a job application or anything like that, if you want users to provide a file or an image and things like that. Another thing that you might want to add is reCAPTCHA. So this is just a simple reCAPTCHA form, and it's used to kind of as a version of anti-spam to make sure you don't get any spam comments. To do that, you need to make sure that you have an API key set for your site. And then once you have your API key, you would just add that in the reCAPTCHA settings. So if I click on reCAPTCHA settings, it'll take me to the setting and it'll ask me to add the site key, secret key, and the type of API it is.